Although Alien Romulus isn't exactly where I wanted the franchise to go after Alien Covenant, I do think it is where the franchise needed to go. Alright guys, welcome back. GM Light here, and we're talking about Alien Romulus, kind of in comparison to Alien Covenant. As the title suggests, I like Alien Covenant, Prometheus, that kind of branch of Alien, more than Alien Romulus. But that's okay, because I think Alien Romulus is also a great Alien movie. They just go for different things. Prometheus, Alien Covenant, they go for pretty big questions, they go for big lore, they want to explore ideas about existence, creation, that kind of stuff, sentience, and it introduces a lot of weird concepts for this franchise. It takes big swings, sometimes has misses, but overall that's what I appreciate so much about Covenant and Prometheus. They're big movies with big ideas, they swing for the fences, and Romulus, is kind of safe. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I do think that's what the franchise needed to do. After the mixed reception, the amount of less money that Covenant made compared to Prometheus, it was pretty obvious that there was a middling reaction that needed a palate cleanser. I was just hoping that we'd get a third and final chapter to this David trilogy first, but now we have Romulus, and it is a very good and exciting Alien movie. I've talked about it, but it takes it back to basics. Pretty much all of the things that you want in an Alien movie, you get out of it. You get the creature effects that are awesome. You get these sequences, space, technology, gunplay. They find new ways to make you cringe, explain a little bit more, and they actually do a little bit of care with tying it into movies that you wouldn't think it wanted to acknowledge, like Prometheus and Covenant. And I appreciate that all about it because it's very obvious that Fede Alvarez is a huge fan of Alien. He took a lot of care to this material, and even then, I think he provided the most compelling synthetic human besides David in the franchise. You really get those gut-wrenching feelings with Andy in a way that you wouldn't think you would with a synthetic human. And I think that David's compelling for very different reasons. He's obviously evil. He obviously is motivated by entirely different things, but I think it's his existential questions and almost a crisis that comes from that makes him so compelling. There's a pure hatred that he has for both his creators and the creators of his creators, and that much is clear. I think that the disdain that he feels is a result of the indifference in his creation, and that again is compelling stuff to me. That's what those movies are all about. Although I think that those are the things that really alienated a lot of people, no pun intended. Rather than just kind of being more straightforward with the body horror, all that kind of stuff, what made the first Alien movie really stick and be so basic, these prequels were a lot more ambitious, had a lot more to say. But I really like what they added to the lore. I'm actually a huge fan of the Alien, Predator, and Prometheus comics, Blood and Ash, Fire and Stone, that kind of stuff. And those expansions on that, I appreciate. And the thing with that is, I feel like Covenant and Prometheus expand on that world and the lore in a way that, Romulus is a lot more less focused on. And like I said, it's just going for different things. Romulus, although it adds to the lore, it doesn't really want to add too much. It's very content with just being this back to basics approach to get people back on board with the franchise and just kind of be a bit of a reintroduction. And like I said, that's totally fine because it worked for me. As an Alien fan, I was very entertained. I can't complain. But at the same time, Romulus is going to stick with me a whole lot less than Covenant and Prometheus will. I think that is those ideas that keeps me coming back to Prometheus and Alien Covenant. I'm not trying to be snobbish. I'm not trying to be gatekeeping or anything. There's a lot of discourse and vitriol online about Alien Romulus, which is actually kind of surprising because I really wouldn't have thought it would be all that controversial of a movie. But I actually think it's that lack of being controversial that has caused it to have this reaction. The fact that it is a lot more safe, a lot more bare bones approach to the aliens, that kind of put people in a tizzy, especially too. It's just one of those situations where with what Covenant and Prometheus did, kind of fracturing the fan base, it made them want different things. There was such a mixed reaction to those movies that it put people into two camps that are either very much for it or very much against it. And then that kind of made it in a way where even when you have a follow-up that is as crowd-pleasing and entertaining as Romulus, it's still controversial because no matter what, you're either stepping on people's toes by making another sequel to Covenant that will get mixed reactions, or doing something like taking the approach with Romulus, where you're stepping on the toes of the fans of Prometheus and Alien Covenant by instead of giving a follow-up to that, kind of getting rid of all those existential tones and ideas, getting rid of the big commentary, and just focusing in on aliens. And to a certain degree, I don't blame people for just wanting aliens out of aliens. And this movie definitely is what that is. That's definitely not what Covenant and Prometheus are. But those movies are just so out there that I can't help but really appreciate them. And Prometheus, to a certain degree, has a bit of nostalgia for me. It was my first R-rated movie in theaters. And I remember being really hyped for it, being really into Predators, Aliens at the time. So that's always going to be special. Getting that reveal of what the engineer looked like was just mind-blowing. And now, we're kind of just coming back to a reset. And that's what this is. It's a movie to just get the general public back on board with this franchise. And you know what? I get it. That's the thing. Like I said, it was the right move for this property at this time. I can only imagine a direct sequel to Alien Covenant probably would have made even less money than Covenant itself, which I don't think Covenant did terrible at all. I think it just might have not quite broken even, but even then I'm not positive. Prometheus was very profitable, and I think it was about a 150 million drop off from Prometheus to Covenant, and that downward trajectory just kind of shows that they really did divide and split people, and they wanted to go back to more unifying roots, going back to the original movie that everybody talks about and loves. And I don't begrudge them for that. That's just business. But at the same time, it also doesn't make me enjoy Romulus more than Covenant or Prometheus. With the uniqueness of those movies, the boldness of them, they come off as just more memorable to me. And while Romulus might be more satisfying to the majority of people, some of that open-endedness to Prometheus and Covenant is what keeps me coming back to them. A lot of people talked about how, they answer a lot of questions, but they raise even more. But it's kind of those intricate narratives that I really dig about those two movies. Especially in the alien world, I'm just a person who really enjoys the lore of it. I used to watch videos endlessly theorizing about the engineers, the aliens, Prometheus, Predator, all that stuff. As a guy who likes that, these movies were just very fascinating, and I was gripped because they aren't just kind of the more basic survival horror story that Romulus is. And it's kind of hard to talk about it in this manner because I'm really not trying to drag Romulus down, degrade it, make it sound like it's, inferior or anything to Covenant, because I really do think it's just a matter of taste. But for me personally, I think that it works a lot better when the series is taking these wild swings, whether they work out or not, whether they please everybody or not. But the problem with that is when you're dividing people, you're definitely not making any new fans. It becomes a thing of segmenting. Generally, I'm not for divisive entries in series. This is one of the rare times where I'm all in on it, and I like the weirdness of it, despite a lot of the backlash that these movies get, because I do understand why they get the backlash that they get. Is that fine? Yeah. I'm perfectly secure in my opinion, and fine with the fact that Romulus is probably going to be more successful than both Prometheus and Covenant. That's fine with me. But again, it doesn't make me like it more. Romulus is a very enjoyable movie, pretty much provides anything you would want with Alien, especially as a longtime fan, but it just doesn't have that extra push because it's so content with being a more basic survival story. It works better for some people, not for others. It works for me, just not better than Covenant or Prometheus. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'd love to hear. It's probably divisive. I know that this is probably not a common opinion, but I'd love to hear yours. I'm GM Light. Have a good one.